Tonight, 2 dead after a train and truck collide in the outback. A champion cyclist charged with causing the death of his Olympian wife. Ukraine strikes back, launching a deadly attack within Russia's borders. And the year that was. A look back at WA's biggest stories and events. Good evening, Briana Shepherd with ABC News. First tonight to a major incident in Burswood near Perth Stadium. 2 children have been taken to hospital in a critical condition after being rescued from the Swan River. Reporter Kason Ho is there. Kason, what can you tell us?
We're here on the bank of the Swan River in Burswood, where there are hundreds of people here, families ready to bring in the new year and enjoy the sunset. But those celebrations were interrupted less than 2 hours ago when 2 children reportedly fell into the water. Now, we understand those 2 children, a boy and a girl, were both under the age of 10. Speaking to some of the families that were here at the time of the incident, they spoke about the ensuing chaos that unfolded as emergency services arrived at the scene. At least 8 ambulance crews arrived, and by the time we were here, more than a dozen police officers had cordoned off this area where the incident occurred. Now, we do understand that those 2 children were taken to hospital in 2 separate ambulances with critical care teams, but the family and us will be waiting for an update on their condition, Bree.
Kason Ho there in Burswood. 2 train workers have died in a crash between a freight train and a truck near South Australia's border with New South Wales. Police and the Transport Safety Bureau are investigating the collision, while the barrier highway is expected to be closed for some time.
The aftermath of a crash between a freight train and a truck, which left 2 people dead. Emergency services were called to Bindara Station, 80 kilometres west of Broken Hill, around 10:30 this morning after reports of a collision at a level crossing. 2 train drivers, both from Port Augusta, aged 48 and 57, were killed in the crash. In a statement, the men's employer, Pacific National, said the incident was having a profound impact across the organisation and that their priority was ensuring the highest level of care to the families of the drivers who tragically died. Police say the impact of the crash caused the locomotive to catch fire and that several train carriages, some of which were carrying produce, were now blocking the entire barrier highway. The New South Wales Transport Department says the highway is expected to be closed for some time, with the quickest diversion adding at least an extra 2 hours travel time. The driver of the truck escaped without any injuries and has been taken to Broken Hill Hospital for mandatory drug and alcohol testing. He's been identified as a 75-year-old man from Queensland. The Australian Transport Safety Bureau says an investigation is now underway, with experts to gather evidence from the scene and examine the crossing infrastructure. The timeframe of that investigation is yet to be determined. Bill Ormond, ABC News, Coburn.
World champion cyclist Rowan Dennis has been charged with causing the death of his WA-born wife, retired Olympian Melissa Hoskins, after a car crash in Adelaide. Emergency services were called just after 8 o'clock last night to reports a woman had been hit by a car. Police said Ms Hoskins suffered serious injuries and was taken to hospital for treatment but died overnight. The 32-year-old was a former Olympic track cyclist and professional road racing cyclist. Police have arrested her 33-year-old husband and charged him with causing death by dangerous driving, driving without due care and endangering life. He's been bailed to appear in the Adelaide Magistrates Court in March. Ukraine has carried out one of its biggest waves of airstrikes on Russia since the start of the war. At least 24 people, including 2 children, were killed in the southwestern city of Belgorod, near the border with Ukraine. It comes a day after Russia launched a massive aerial bombardment on Ukraine, killing at least 40 people.
Shock and fear on the streets of Russia. Explosions hit the southwestern city of Belgorod on Friday and Saturday. This town is only 40 kilometres from Ukraine's border. It's been hit before during the almost 2-year conflict, but this appears to be the deadliest yet.
Today we experienced the heaviest toll in the last 2 years from shellings by the Ukrainian armed forces.
Ukrainian officials haven't formally claimed the attack, but there's reports Kyiv was trying to strike military targets in the area, with downed parts falling in the city.
It was a strong explosion. I put everyone in the bathroom.
The Kremlin called for an urgent UN Security Council meeting and warned this attack would not go unpunished. Retaliation soon came. Hours later, Russian missiles hit the Ukrainian cities of Kharkiv and Kherson.
What a present Russia gave us for the new year. They bomb residential areas. There are people here. How can they do such a thing?
Russia's president and top military officer had earlier been promoting a battlefield win, claiming the village of Mariinka in the Donetsk region.
By breaking this fortification, our troops have the opportunity to reach a wider operational area now.
Ukraine is reeling from a week of intense Russian strikes which killed dozens, and now warnings further pain could be on the way. Isabella Higgins, ABC News.
Gazan health authorities say nearly 170 Palestinians have been killed in the past 24 hours as Israel ramps up attacks inside the besieged enclave. There's mounting pressure on Israel to do more to allow aid to flow freely amid accusations it's restricting the movement of life-saving supplies. And a warning, this report contains distressing details.
On October 7, Mia Shem was confronted with an agonising life or death decision.
To stay burned to death here or go with him. And I told myself in my head, well, I don't want to die, I want to live.
The 21-year-old was taken hostage at the Supernova Music Festival when it came under attack from Hamas militants. This is the first time she's spoken publicly about her ordeal.
Closed in a dark room, not allowed to talk, not allowed to be seen, to be heard, hidden. There is a terrorist looking at you 24/7, looking, raping you with his eyes.
Shem was one of 78 hostages released as part of an exchange deal with Hamas. But dozens more are still being held inside Gaza. The IDF has released this video purportedly showing the latest airstrikes on Hamas targets. But on the ground, the number of civilian casualties continues to rise.
I never expected this number of deaths. We did not have such numbers in previous wars.
As Israel pushes deeper into central and southern Gaza, it's announced plans to take full control of the Philadelphia corridor with Egypt. The move would place the enclave under Israel's exclusive control and mark a de facto reversal of Israel's 2005 withdrawal from Gaza.
The southern stoppage point must be in our hands. It must be shut. It is clear that any other arrangement would not ensure the demilitarisation that we seek.
Israel is already accused of limiting badly needed humanitarian aid through its crossings, but it's condemning suggestions only a small amount of aid is getting through.
We place no limits on the amount of humanitarian supplies which can enter the Strip. Suggesting otherwise is a fallacy.
With the war now in its 13th week, Israel is warning much more fighting is to come before so-called victory is achieved. Alison Horn, ABC News, Jerusalem.
Thousands of travellers have been stranded on both sides of the English Channel after heavy rain in London flooded the high-speed rail tunnel to Europe. All trains linking London to the mainland were cancelled, causing travel chaos for thousands of people ahead of New Year's Eve celebrations. It's the second holiday disruption for Eurostar customers. The first was a surprise industrial strike on December 21st.
Not a lot of information being given out and a lot of people who don't really seem to know what to do with themselves. A lot of people just sitting down and waiting. Seems like they're in for the long haul. We'll have to wait and see who goes and who doesn't.
US singer and American Idol judge Paula Abdul has filed a lawsuit accusing a British television executive of sexually assaulting her. Abdul, who rose to fame as a singer in the 1980s, has accused producer Nigel Lithgow of unwanted physical contact. The incidents allegedly occurred on 2 separate occasions during their work together on American Idol and So You Think You Can Dance. Lithgow says he will fight the allegations, saying they are false and deeply offensive. British actor Tom Wilkinson, known for his roles in The Full Monty, Michael Clayton and The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel, has died aged 75. Wilkinson passed away suddenly in his home, but no cause of death was given. The Oscar-nominated actor had more than 130 film and TV credits, but is remembered by many for playing a former steel mill foreman in the 1997 comedy The Full Monty. He was recognised for his services to drama in 2005 when he was appointed a member of the Order of the British Empire. Preparations have been underway to usher in the new year in WA. In Perth, Elizabeth Quay will be the hub for what's been described as the only family-friendly fireworks in the city. Thousands are expected at the event, which begins with roving performances and entertainment, and the fireworks sparking off at 8. There'll also be rooftop fireworks at midnight, with the CBD and Northbridge being the focus, with smaller displays at Gloucester Park and East Perth. Police have warned they'll be out in force, cracking down on antisocial behaviour and protecting the public. Chronically ill patients are turning to credit cards and foregoing food to cover the cost of medicines. The survey has found 1 in 4 patients are struggling to pay for their pharmaceuticals as the cost of living continues to bite. For many, it's off-the-shelf medicines that really start to add up.
Not only is Karen Armanasco dealing with terminal neuroendocrine cancer, she's struggling to pay for it too. On top of regular scripts, the grandmother needs off-the-shelf pain medicines, laxatives, vitamins and other chemist items.
Over a period of a month, it's over $300.
It's a constant source of worry.
It's the incontinence. You only get to buy the pull-ups when they're on special because they're so expensive. That stops you from going out. Because you can't trust your bowels or your bladder.
She's one of many feeling the pinch when it comes to pharmacy goods not listed under the Pharmaceutical Benefits Scheme, or PBS. They include essential items like pain medicines and gels, sharp spins, asthma spacers, incontinence pads, dressings, or even pregnancy vitamins. Chronic Pain Australia says 1 in 4 patients struggle to afford these products and skip food or fuel to pay.
It's incredibly expensive. What people are telling us that their out-of-pocket expenses for non-PBS items are around $200 a month.
The Australian Patients Association found many turn to credit to cover health costs.
There's been health cost issues for some time now, but the cost of living rises of recent times have really created a serious problem.
And there's little or no help available. The government's pharmaceutical allowance is just $6.60 a fortnight and only covers prescription medications for some people. But there is funding for one condition. These testing strips are covered for diabetics under the National Diabetes Services Scheme. The federal government says it's also lowered the PBS safety net and reduced the co-payment on scripts. Alison Branley, ABC News.
For stroke victims, any delay in medical care can be life-threatening. But in what doctors call a postcode lottery, rural patients often can't get help within the critical first hour after a stroke. Now, Queensland researchers have developed a world-first mini portable brain scanner that can be used by paramedics at the scene to diagnose and treat patients within minutes.
Champion teenage runner Sean Lockhart had a stroke at 15, but because he lives in rural Queensland, he had just a 3% chance of getting treated within that golden hour.
Sean arrived at the hospital at 4 p.m. and the chopper arrived in Tara at 10 p.m.
A 6-hour delay. It was a very different story for 75-year-old Brisbane stroke patient Colin Knott, who was rushed to the PA stroke unit.
Within 30 minutes, I was up here in the hospital, which is extremely quick.
It's like a postcode lottery. And if you're in rural and remote Australia, particularly more remote parts, you virtually can't access acute stroke treatment.
But through research at the University of Queensland, the world's first brain scanner on wheels and now a mini portable brain device are set to revolutionise stroke care. The ultra-lightweight helmet is designed for road and air ambulances.
The intention is paramedics can carry this device into the scene, run a scan and send those images via telestroke back to a specialist to guide urgent treatment and decision making.
It weighs under 10 kilos and has a ring of 28 antennas that send ultra-high frequency radio signals to detect if it's a clot or a bleed and to be treated accordingly.
It's very comfortable, it's non-invasive, and the whole process takes under 10 minutes.
The scanners are being trialled at major tertiary hospitals in Melbourne, Sydney and here in Brisbane. Then the mini brain scanner will be rolled out in ambulances around the country in a second trial mid-next year.
We're reluctant to use words breakthroughs and game changers, but I think the concepts are right. And if these devices are clinically validated, I think the word game changer would not be an exaggeration.
Giving rural stroke victims like Sean,
I have no left side peripheral,
a better chance. Lexi Hamilton-Smith, ABC News.
A ban on the importation or sale of single-use disposable vapes comes into effect tomorrow. It's the first stage of the federal government's vaping crackdown and comes amid what some experts say is an epidemic. Doctors' groups have described it as a massive step forward. Vapes will be limited to those who have a prescription. GPs believe the general ban will help curb the rise in children and young people getting hooked.
From tomorrow, the changes will slowly come into effect with regards to the visibility of vapes on our streets and in the hands of young people, but that it will be action that where Australia leads the world, and that's what we want to see as doctors.
Time for sport with Tom Wildie, and Tom, a nail-biting victory for Australia and India.
They claimed a thriller in Mumbai, Bree, beating the hosts by 3 runs to take an unassailable 2-0 lead in the Women's ODI series. Phoebe Litchfield top scored with 63, her second half century in a row, as Australia posted 8 for 258. Litchfield also took a brilliant diving catch as Jemima Rodrigues was dismissed for 44. Risha Ghosh fell only 4 runs short of a century, and Australia maintained its record of never having lost a one-day series against India.
That's not on our mind at all. We're fully aware of just how good this opposition is that we're playing against, and we know we've got to be up to the mark to maintain that record.
Rafael Nadal has revealed he considered retirement ahead of his long-awaited return to singles action at the Brisbane International. It comes as the 22-time Grand Slam champion also hinted there's a chance this summer will be his last down under.
Back in a familiar surrounding, a place Rafa says holds fond memories. This trip, he'll cherish them even more.
It's a high percentage that's going to be my last time playing here in Australia. But if I am here next year, don't tell me you said gonna be your last season, because I didn't say it.
But he did contemplate giving tennis away after needing hip surgery, often spending weeks waking up in pain.
Of course, in the low moments, it's 100% human that you put yourself in a position to say, okay, it makes sense, all the things that I have to do to be back at 37 years old.
A feeling Australia's top-ranked Aussie woman knows all too well.
Rodionova has turned it all around in this first set.
Arina Rodionova missed 8 months away with a wrist injury, but scored her first top 50 win in almost 4 years, defeating Martina Trevisan 6-3, 6-2.
I'm feeling really confident on the court, and I'm feeling good, and I'm just, when you have an injury, you just don't take it for granted anymore.
And Alexei Popyrin has survived a 3-hour, 3-set marathon match against fellow Australian Chris O'Connell to progress to the second round. Jessica Stewart, ABC News, Brisbane.
Australia will need to beat the USA in a clean sweep tomorrow night to progress to the United Cup quarterfinals. after the defending champions recovered from world number 3 Jessica Pegula's shock loss to Great Britain's Katie Boulter to win their tie 2-1 in Perth. Pegula, who was part of the USA's successful Cup side last year, won the opening set before Boulter fought back to clinch the win. Taylor Fritsch then overcame a quad complaint to beat Cameron Norrie, setting up a mixed doubles decider. Last night, world number 1 Iga Swiatek continued her dominant form, crushing Brazil's Beatriz Haddad-Maia 6-2, 6-2 to win her 12th straight match as Poland beat Brazil. And Germany's Angelique Kerber was rusty on her return from maternity leave, losing her singles match before Alexander Zverev won his match and the pair claimed the doubles to win their tie against Italy. To soccer, and 2 goals from Millie Farrow have helped Perth Glory women defeat Central Coast Mariners 2-1 in Gosford. The Englishwoman Farrow opened the scoring after a Mariners error in the 7th minute and found the back of the net again midway through the second half. The Mariners answered through Rola Badawia, but the Glory held on to consolidate second place on the ladder. And DeMarco Tullio Brace has helped the Mariners men home over a 9-player Perth Glory, winning 4-2 on the Central Coast. Adam Taggart opened the scoring for Perth before 3 first-half goals by the Mariners, and an injury-time strike from Tullio sealed the win. And the Perth Lynx have missed the chance to go top of the WNBL ladder, losing to leaders Townsville 87-64. Scores were level at half-time before the Fire dominated the second half to claim the victory. And Bree, that is the latest in sport.
Thank you, Tom. And we're in for a mildish start to the new year for WA and much of the country. Right now in town it's 25 degrees and humidity is 56%. Perth's minimum was 21 degrees a little before 6 o'clock this morning, rising to a top of 30.4 just before midday. The state's coolest spot was Ayr with a minimum of 13 degrees. Very hot again in the north, especially across the Pilbara. Roebourne reaching a top of 49.5 degrees. To the satellite briefly, and there was a cluster of thunderstorms over inland parts of the Kimberley today. Thick cloud with a trough spanning north to south is generating showers and storms about the Wheatbelt, Gascoyne and Goldfields, some intense, milder along the west coast in cool southerlies. A broad trough will persist over inland Kimberley and Pilbara this week. A strengthening high pressure ridge lies to the south of the state. Taking a quick look around the country tomorrow, a sunny morning and 28 for Adelaide. Mostly sunny, 25 in Melbourne, partly cloudy and 22 for Hobart. Canberra will be cloudy with a top of 25. Some showers about for Sydney, 26 degrees there, with a partly cloudy top of 35 degrees set for Darwin. Back to WA, and in the north, showers and gusty thunderstorms over the Kimberley and interior. Very hot over the Kimberley, Pilbara, northern interior, northeast Gascoyne and far northern Goldfields. Windy at times across the western Gascoyne, central west and Eucla. Showers and gusty thunderstorms over Eucla, southern and eastern Goldfields and eastern parts of the southeast coastal district. Showers or drizzle over southern coastal districts and adjacent Goldfields. In Perth, sunny, a top of 29 after an overnight low of 18. Sunrise will be at 14 minutes past 5, setting at 26 past 7. And looking ahead, a cloudy one set for Tuesday with a top of 30. The rest of the week set for sunshine with temperatures rising, set to reach a top of 36 next Sunday. And finally tonight, a look back at 2023, a year of natural disasters, natural wonders and political upheaval in Western Australia. From the devastating Kimberley floods at the start of the year to the sudden departure of former Premier Mark McGowan, missing radioactive capsules, stunning eclipses and notable political backflips, 2023 is unlikely to be forgotten.
3, 2, 1...
2023, bring it up.
It's just crazy.
This was the scene on the outskirts of Fitzroy Crossing.
Get him!
The amount of water that is moving down the Fitzroy River in a day is about what Perth uses water-wise in 20 years.
Over the weekend, David Honey insisted he'd contest the party room ballot. By the morning, though, the writing was on the wall.
The reality is the team has not been as effective as it should have been. Somewhere along its 1,400-kilometre journey across Western Australia, this tiny capsule disappeared.
If somebody were to discover it somewhere along the route, we are very keen that they do not handle it.
The search groups have quite literally found the needle in the haystack.
A community in disbelief.
Friends and locals are continuing to leave flowers and words for Stella Berry. The community trying to process the tragedy in the Swan River.
A thick cloud of black smoke erupted from the air tanker that crashed into the ground.
It's nothing short of miraculous that they were able to walk from that plane yesterday afternoon.
Chaos at Banksia Hill.
Through the grief of losing her son, Nadine Dodd is speaking out.
And I just felt his duty of care.
Guards doing routine checks found the teenager unresponsive in his cell.
A place that's supposed to look after him, and he comes out of there in an ambulance.
The grief and anger over the death of Cleveland Dodd is still raw.
What is it going to take before they shut Unit 18 down? Another death?
After 6 years on top with a booming state economy and sky-high approval ratings, he seemed to have it all.
But the truth is, I'm tired. I'll be resigning as Premier and member for Rockingham.
He's used to running marathons, but the race to replace Mark McGowan was a sprint.
I'm ready to lead. I'm ready to be Premier.
For decades, Barry Cable was a revered football champion.
Across the cable, a straight shot's needed. He's got it.
But now he's been found to have repeatedly abused a young girl decades ago.
It's never been about money for my client. It's always been about the truth.
Firstly, it was like wonder and what this amazing event that's happened, and then it was, devastation, in the end.
Normally this is an animal that's supported fully by the seawater, so that kind of compression is a very bad situation to be in, and it reduces its health even further.
A minute in darkness, a memory forever.
Look at the sky. Oh my God.
This is insane.
As the moon passed between the Earth and the Sun, effectively turning off the lights to Exmouth.
Yeah, that's a big chair.
Smashed away, the Scorchers are home! They are BBL's world champions.
WA solidify themselves at the top of Australian cricket.
Here he is, Nat at the back.
Heritage Law's backflip.
Such a significant cultural place was basically destroyed.
We can reset, end all the confusion, and importantly, strike the right balance.
Well, same old. We're secondary citizens in this country.
I'm particularly alerted by the rusty-looking colour of them.
The legal battle between the billionaire descendants of iron ore pioneers Lang Hancock and Peter Wright is over riches stemming from a group of iron ore mining tenements in the Hamersley Range.
Reports a man wearing camouflage gear shot a worker at a local manufacturing business.
And the referendum wasn't successful. I respect the outcome.
In the end, it was a resounding no vote for the state.
Well, for my own opinion, I just didn't want the Constitution changed.
Go!
Nice and slow, nice and slow, nice and slow.
Each room is almost indistinguishable from the next.
There's nothing left now.
Spot fire starting, but requesting more units. Over. Units on way to you now. Over.
Blasted into the roof of the net, the hometown hero.
And that's ABC News. It's been a pleasure having your company this year. Have a wonderful and safe New Year's Eve. Bye for now.